Here is the definitive cure for back acne. Stay tuned. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Rx. We're going to keep that. We're going to keep that whole fire thing. We might just have to do a video overlay of like me on fire. That'll make it even better. RX Television, RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave. 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. Bodybuilding, non-bodybuilding, diet, training, supplementation, life, whatever you have on your mind. Of course, we are now entering into the very thick of the contest schedule. I had it memorized off the top of my head, but this upcoming week, I think it's Portugal. Yes. And then we have Vancouver, Chicago, Dubai, Tampa, and then somewhere in the mix we have oh my god,
I think you missed Chicago. Did you say Chicago in there?
Did I say Chicago? Chicago is after Vancouver. Yeah. And then I am forgetting Texas Pro, August 13th. So this is the part where I think 7 straight weeks we're gonna have open class bodybuilding. So a lot of open class tickets are going to be punched to the Olympia. So a very, very exciting time. So I'm sure over the course of the next few weeks, you're going to be expecting a lot of preview content, a lot of show coverage, and then, of course, things really heating up as we now start to inch towards the Olympia. Sean Clarita, by the way, check our Instagram right now.
I saw that.
Crazy. We reposted him 14 weeks out, and I mean, dear God, if anyone was ever driven to get their title back, that's right there. With Sean Clarita, 14 weeks out. So again, check that out. Official_RxMuscle. We're going to go to the questions. The first 2 questions on this show from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question: why do some steroids cause increased cholesterol and some don't?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a genetic thing. To be honest, I never had high cholesterol ever. No matter what steroid I took, no matter how big I was, no matter how small I was, I just never had a high LDL. My HDLs got suppressed a lot because that's typical of anabolic steroid use. But I don't think anabolics themselves raise cholesterol. Now, if you have a predisposition for high LDL cholesterol, eating a lot more food, as bodybuilders do, can boost that up a little bit because you're getting more, you're taking in more stuff. So there's less to break. I mean, I have a lot more to break down. So if you have a problem with too much cholesterol synthesis and not enough cholesterol breakdown and excretion from the body, eating more food can boost, just that alone can boost your cholesterol. I've seen guys who just eat super clean and they have high LDL. You know, we found out recently there's a new study out of Japan showing that if your LDL is high, but your triglycerides are normal, it's not bad. Most people don't have problems with blockages when that occurs. It's when you have high triglycerides with the high LDL that the problem seems to occur. So I don't think that anabolic steroids in and of themselves increase LDL cholesterol, although they do suppress the good HDLs that clean up the cholesterol in the blood vessels. The I guess thing to take note of is that if you have low LDL and you have low HDL, then it doesn't really matter because there's nothing to clean up. But if you have high LDL and low HDL, not always such a great idea. But the triglycerides are the key. third dimension of this whole triad. You have to have the high triglycerides in conjunction with the high LDL.
Second question, again, these first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. I've been a coaching client of yours for about 1.5 years. Great experience. Any suggestions on clearing up back acne? I'm on a bulk with you, but even at lower doses, it's present. Is there anything that realistically can be done, or I just have to deal with it?
Yeah, that was a big problem early in my career. For some reason, I always had like a couple pimples and zits and stuff like that growing up as a teenager. But when I started taking anabolics, I started getting these big like back like boils almost. They like really hurt, and they were annoying, and it was a nuisance. There's a couple things I discovered. Number one, cleanliness is very important. Taking showers twice a day in the morning and before bed, and using dial soap. Dial soap is a really good antibacterial. I usually use the white one or the gold soap, and you get like a back scrubber with like a loofah pad on it, and you kind of rub the dial soap on it, and then you kind of just do your back, unless you have a really nice girlfriend who will, or wife who will do it for you, and she'll shave you. I say that's another thing. If you grow back hair, you got to shave every like couple days to keep the hair down, because otherwise you get ingrown hairs too. When I took a lot of anabolics, obviously I had more issues with hair on my back. Nowadays on HRT, I don't have any back hair at all, so that's not an issue. But those things, it's just the cleanliness thing. Also, change your sheets and your pillowcases every other day, because you sweat on those things, and then dirt gets on there, and then you're laying in it all night, and that also will make you break out. Change your shirts frequently. When you're sweaty and grimy, don't leave that shirt on all day. Swap shirts out. It's okay. You can do laundry a little more often. Don't put creams on. I know these dermatologists will give you these antibiotic creams. They just clog the pores worse. Do not use those. But sometimes taking some low-grade antibiotics will help clear the skin up. What I would do like 2 weeks before a competition, a lot of times, is I would take 1,000 milligrams of Augmentin every day, once a day. Usually the dose is twice a day if you had an infection, but I would take it once a day just to kind of calm down the back acne. Because remember, the antibiotic, Augmentin specifically, works really well against skin bacteria and doesn't really have a lot of side effects. The only side effects it might have could cause some diarrhea. As long as you're taking a good fiber supplement and throw some probiotics in there, even if you use the Protolyze pudding, has the probiotics in there, you're not going to have any problems, and that will clear you back up a lot of times too. If your situation is really, really bad, and you've tried all the things I've told you, and you still have problems and breaking out, I would then go the nuclear route. I would go get some Accutane. Usually 40 to 80 milligrams per day works well. Problem is, you're gonna have to stay on it probably for 4 to 5 months straight. You get dried out lips, you get dried out some eyes sometimes. Sometimes your anal sphincter will get a little dry back there and get some cracking. That's all reversible once you go off the Accutane. That was the only side effects I noticed. I never had joint pain. I never had any other problems from it. It did a really good job of getting rid of the worst of my acne. And then, but you're still going to break out, because what happens is those sebaceous glands, they regenerate themselves. What the Accutane does is it shrinks the sebaceous glands so they don't secrete as much oil. But if you're a greasy Italian like I am, eventually your body just regenerates them. So it's not going to ever be as bad as it was, prior to taking the Accutane, but it'll come back a little bit. And so, you want some oil secretion. You just don't want excessive oil secretion. And when you're on anabolics, it kind of soups up that oil secretion. And when you're releasing a lot of oils to the skin, which is good for detoxification, bacteria can grow in these oils. And that's when you start getting the breakouts in the sebaceous glands there. And you get those big boils and painful pimples. So cleanliness with the sheets changing, the dial soap, 2 showers a day, try some Augmentin right before a show to clear your back up. And then if you really need to go the all-out route, you can do the Accutane. So I wouldn't take Accutane while I was dieting for a show, because sometimes it screws up the way you look a little bit. But off-season, it should be fine, to use. No big deal. And I know they're going to tell you don't take anabolics. Just stay away from orals. The orals are the toxic ones. The long-acting injectables are going to be fine. You're not going to have a problem with that. So I hope it helps. I know it's annoying for some people, and a lot of people just only have the acne on their back. We call it back knee sometimes. We used to call it back in the day back knee, and it happens. It's not everyone, but it happens to some people. People who detox through their skin, it happens to. These 2 questions, by the way, were from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. It's an app you can download on your iTunes or your Android store. It's $29 a month. You get me as your coach in your back pocket. We put up workouts every single week. You get to see all my videos and all my writings I've ever done in one place. I answer everyone's questions in an open forum, so you see everyone's questions and everyone's answers. I do a Q&A video exclusively for the app members, so it's like an extra Ask Dave every single week. So it's a really good learning tool. It's, for $29 a month to have me in your pocket to be able to ask questions and read other people's questions and learn on a constant basis. That's an invaluable tool. And I appreciate all you guys for supporting it. We have a lot of members. It's a great community.
So those 2 questions were from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. We now take questions from our Facebook page and our Instagram page. Facebook, if you're not already following us, just go to the search bar, RxMuscle. On Instagram, official_RxMuscle. Jeff Decker, Jeff Master Blaster Decker, love the name. Off-season question. Dave, when you were coming up, was your goal just getting big, or did you strategize body parts? For example, I have good arms and calf genetics, so I train them less. Back is lagging, so I focus on the lagging body parts more. Your thoughts? So, did you take differences in body part genetics for growth, or did you just eat, lift, and go for size?
Yeah, I knew that I needed to put general size on my entire body because I have very long limbs. I have long arms and long legs, and that takes a long time to fill out, as opposed to people who have shorter limbs. So I knew I needed to put size on all over. So there was not a single body part that I slacked on. Matter of fact, at one point, someone's like, well, you have really good legs. You don't need to train them as hard. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I said, why would I not train a body part as hard as I train the other body parts? First of all, leg training builds mass on the entire body, because think about what you're doing when you're squatting. You're holding an enormous amount of weight on your back. That requires the back stabilization. It requires, core strength. So I don't believe in deprioritizing body parts. You might want to prioritize a body part, like, hey, I want my back bigger. I'm going to really make sure I eat enough on the day before back, and I'm fueled up. Maybe I'll take a day off before I do back. That's fine. But you don't want to slack on other body parts because you think they're too good. I've never seen anyone who has a body part that's that good that they can just skip doing it, aside from a couple of super freaks at the pro level. So for most people, train every body part hard. The key is to give yourself enough rest days to recover and rebuild your physique. So, if you're doing a 5-day split over 7 days, there's 2 days off per week, 5 days of training. If, you start feeling a little fatigued, you might want to take an extra day off here or there to let your body recover, because the recovery is the most important aspect of building your body. Remember, you're only growing on the days that you're recovering. If you're constantly breaking down muscle, you're never growing because you're always in a state of breakdown. So you have to let the body, heal up in a sense. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think, well, I want to prioritize my back. My back's not as good. I'll train it 3 times a week. Well, guess what? You're breaking it down even more now. It's never going to grow and recover. So you have to be smart about how you train.
He actually had a second question I wanted to get in as well. Knowing what you know now as an older bodybuilder, is there any gear you would not take now? Example, TRT, Winstrol, deca, Masteron, any circumstance, any condition.
I really tried very hard to take Anadrol during my career, and I probably lasted a week or two on, at the most. And I just couldn't eat on this stuff. I probably wouldn't even try to take it anymore at this point. I just don't think there's so many great injectables out there that I don't understand why anyone even uses orals. Sometimes we use a little bit of Dianabol because it kind of kicks butt, but it doesn't really blunt appetite too much. Obviously, in women, we can use Anavar and Winstrol tabs because they're not really toxic anyway. And women do better on orals because it's not in their system 24 hours a day. They get less side effects from the orals. But I'm talking about as far as men go, I would probably stay away from like the heavy orals that are very toxic. Now, halotestin is toxic, but we only use that the last 2 weeks before a competition, so I probably wouldn't stay away from that. Probably the only drug I wouldn't do now, if I had to redo my life again, would be the Anadrol. I don't think it's a viable bodybuilding drug for me, at least not, because my body just rejected it. Didn't like it. I couldn't eat on it. I felt like crap on it. And anything that makes you feel that bad can't be good for you. So that would be my one drug I'd stay away from.
Andrew Apuzzo, is it important to occasionally test your 1 rep max?
I don't think it's important necessarily to grow doing that, but I'll tell you what it is what it does do. I'll give you an example with bench, okay? Let's say your best bench is 315, okay? Maybe you could do 1 or 2 reps with 315. And you want to get up to a higher amount. You want to be able to do 6 reps with 315. Well, you're going to have to lift heavier weights than 315 if you want to raise that amount of reps you can do with the 315. So you might go to like 325. Now, 325, you might not be able to you might barely be able to get 1 rep. But if you have a spotter who could work you through like 3 reps, helping you a little bit and get you used to the heavier weight, when you do 315 now, it's going to feel lighter because you're so used to 325, even though you got a little help with it. And then you go to the next, you go to 350, let's say, and you do 1 rep. Maybe even your training partner has to help you with the 1 rep for 2 weeks in a row. But then by the 3rd week, you're able to actually do it 1 time. And now 330 feels really light and you're doing 4 reps with it because you can do 350 for 1. So that's how you work up. So I like I said, I don't think it's necessarily smart to say, you know what, my best is 350. I'm going to try 400 now for a rep. That's probably a recipe for tearing a muscle. But to get to the next level and to push your body, you have to get used to the weight. When the weight gets to a certain level, it's just a matter of getting used to that thing sitting on your hands or in the sense of a squat. You know, I remembered 600 was a very hard number for me to get past. It was a very intimidating mental number, and it was also it felt like a lot of weight on my back, and I had to actually walk out with that weight a few times and just feel it a little bit on my back and see how it felt, and visualize me doing the rep, having a training partner there actually helping me through 3 or 4 reps with the 600 pounds. Until actually I got comfortable enough, because I knew I was strong enough. It was a mental thing. Once I felt like I can control the weight, I was able to do it. So yeah, it's important to push past those 1 rep max, with a training partner there who can, save you if you get stuck, because it helps you get to the next level.
Syed Shah, question about raw eggs versus cooked eggs. Is it true that the body does not absorb all the protein and nutrients from drinking raw eggs compared to cooking them and eating them?
To be honest with you, I don't know if what the absorption of is, if it's changed. I do know that when I used to drink a lot of raw egg whites, it seems like it went through you very quickly. Whether you absorb it or not, or if it's just easier to digest because it's raw, I'm not sure. But I'll tell you this, there is a protein in raw egg whites called avidin, and avidin can block the absorption of biotin in the body. So never take your multivitamins with a meal that you're doing raw egg whites with, because it can inhibit the biotin absorption. But having said that, I don't know if cooking the eggs are going to make you absorb the protein more. Theoretically, you should be able to absorb the protein from raw egg as well as cooked egg just as easily. Once again, sometimes when things are a little too slimy and liquidy, they go through you a little too fast, and that could cause a little bit of malabsorption. But I don't think it's the fact that they're raw is the problem. I think it's just that you're drinking a shake that doesn't really need much digestion, so it seems like it goes through faster. Whereas food has to kind of be, cooked food has to be, chewed, and then it's got to be broken down by your intestinal tract and stomach and turned into liquid, and then it gets absorbed. So I think the process is just a little slower, is really what it is.
Ja Turi, I fell off the bandwagon a few years ago, and I'm now planning on getting back on stage again. During my time off, I developed a lot of visceral fat in the belly from heavy beer drinking. Aside from the obvious of stopping drinking, any tips on reducing a hard, bloated stomach?
I at one point felt that my stomach was also like very hard, and I went to this Korean yoga place. They do it's called Danak Yoga, DAHN, Dawn Yogas for short. And I had them do what they call an energy assessment on me, and they said, you have a lot of stagnation in the abdominal area in your organs. And I explained to them I was a bodybuilder, ate a lot of food, I used to eat 10 times a day, and they're like, well, the organs accumulate toxins and they get stiff. And when the organs get stiff, it creates that hard belly. And it's really just an accumulation of toxins. And they showed me these, what we call intestinal breathing exercises. Some people do them as vacuums, where you actually suck your stomach in and push it out, and suck your stomach in and push it out. And they said, we want you to do 300 of these a day, work up to 300 per day in a row. You can do it while you're driving, you can do it while you're standing in front of the TV. And I actually did a video. We have a video on RxMuscle called Intestinal Breathing Exercise. If you want to watch the video, I'll tell you how to do it. And what it does is it's the milking action of that, sucking your stomach in and pushing it out, which feels very unnatural when you first start doing it, is basically massaging the organs, the liver, the intestinal tract, the pancreas, and its kidneys, and it's basically squeezing these organs, and little by little, it's breaking down the stiffness of them and releasing all those toxins. And over time, it might take 3 to 6 months. You're going to notice your belly is going to you'll still have the muscle there, but it's going to get a softer push, a softer feel when you push on it, and you'll actually be able to do vacuums better, and you'll actually make yourself healthier too. So there's a good bodybuilding component because you can do vacuums, and then there's the component of health because you're releasing all the toxins from those organs. They're called intestinal breathing exercises. Check out the video I have it on RxMuscle.
Next question from Lee Priest. It's actually for me. Wants to know if I enjoyed Alabama with the whack pack, and did I get home and think, holy hell, I am normal. That was actually one of the most fun weekends that I've ever had. Seriously, it was one of those weekends in which it kind of reminded me of like when I used to go away with my friends or whatever like that way back in the day, single life or whatever.
Right.
When it was just like you're laughing uncontrollably to the point where it's like your stomach is just in pain and agony or whatever. Like, so I credit you, Lee, actually more in particular. You had me legitimately like in stitches all weekend, especially what was it, that Friday night after the panel, which we all saw that video. I'm going to put right up here. If you haven't already seen that, it was highly entertaining, but a great time. So yes, thank you, Lee. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Whack Pack. It was an absolutely great time, and I can't wait to do it again next year in Alabama. Let's go to NY Bigger.
I think I don't know if you put it up or Greg put it up. There's a clip in the hot dog place that we went to, Chris's hot dog place, where
he took that from the YouTube video. Yeah.
People love that clip. It's like me yelling at Greg about why he has to order the hot dog without the bun. Why can't he just order it with the bun and give away the bun? And he's like, well, I don't want to waste the bun. And people just love. That's such a classic Whack Pack, back and forth between all of us. That's I think that should actually be the intro to the after hour show. That thing. I think Tyler has to recraft that into somehow the new intro. But yeah, you know what? We should have filmed the new intro while we were all there together. I don't know why we didn't even think about doing that.
You know what, Dave? There were many things that I thought about, like work productivity wise, that I thought we could have done while we were there. Like I was thinking I was going to shoot, a bunch of like headshots of everyone, so that like for the thumbnails that we have like HD images or whatever like that. Like, you watch Patrick Bet David, and many times like his thumbnails literally it's like the three of them, but it's like they're high quality images. I thought about that because it's always our thumbnails are like, someone grainy sitting in the corner of their bedroom. Somebody, you know what I mean? But again, we had such a good time that it was kind of hard to refocus on. All right, well, let's get some stuff.
Oh, by the way, I didn't show anyone this, but look what Michelle sent me in the mail because it wasn't ready for the show. She made me a Species nutrition belt with my name on it right there, Palumbo. So
that's
I didn't. Look at it. So that's black on the back. It's so nice. I don't want to even use it. I want to just hang it on my wall.
No, that you just hang up because that's a commemorative piece right there. That's incredible.
Thank you, Michelle.
No, Michelle. She left us all very unique gift items in little gift bags, whatever.
It was like the Oscar bags,
very thoughtful, very thoughtful, and very much appreciated. She put in a lot of effort and a lot of time getting us all there, treating us all. I mean, God, literally as if the Beatles are coming into Alabama or whatever.
We had some great dinner.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was great times, and look forward to doing it again. Let's go to NY Bigger. Your thoughts on SGL2 inhibitors such as Jardiance, Farxiga? I don't know how to pronounce it, for controlling blood sugars. They also claim to have kidney and heart protective properties.
Yeah, those drugs are being used for like weight loss a lot, and they're somewhat okay for blood sugar control. They seem to drop blood sugars a little bit, but they're not solutions to the problem. That's a better way to put it. For most people who have like blood sugar problems that are running really high fasting blood sugars in the morning, like 110, 120, I just don't think it's enough. I think it'll help with weight loss, and sometimes weight loss can actually lower blood sugars a little bit. Diet is obviously the most important part of lowering blood sugars. But if you're eating a good diet and your blood sugars, your fasting blood sugars in the morning are high, when I say high, I'm talking about over 90. Okay. I know on blood work it says over 100 is normal, but it's really not. Over 90 is high. And if you're over 100 or over 110, you're way too high. And that means you're accumulating damage in your body because those high sugars these sugars actually accumulate in the capillary beds in the eyes, the brain, the kidneys, the extremities. And over time, they start to cut off blood supply to those things, and then they die. That's why you get gangrene in fingers, toes, lose vision in the eyes. Type 3 diabetes, they're calling dementia diabetes now. You don't want that to happen. And the only real way to fix that, and we've talked about this, is usually a long-acting insulin. It makes so much sense when you think about what we do with hormone replacement with regard to women and estrogen and men and testosterone. It makes sense. As you get older, you don't produce as much insulin. And if you're eating, especially if you're eating, a decent amount of food during the day, you're going to run high blood sugars because you're not producing enough insulin. The only way to fix that is to actually take some more insulin. If you don't do that, you're ultimately just delaying the inevitable, okay? And you're accumulating damage while that's happening. Do I like some of these GLP-1 agonists and some of the other ones you just mentioned, the Farxiga and those guys? Yeah, they're good, but a lot of the times they're better actually at weight loss than they are for like actually controlling blood sugar. If I had, I have slightly high fasting blood sugars. I'm in the high 90s sometimes in the morning. I have a doctor's prescription for a long-acting insulin. I've said it before. I'll say it here again. I take about 30 units of 2JO, which is kind of similar to what's it called? The other one. Oh boy, losing my mind. There's Lantus, and then there's Tresiba. Excuse me, thank you. So Tresiba and 2JO are true 24-hour insulins. They're a little more expensive. My insurance pays for it, thank God. And I take it once a day at night, and that's it. And you know what? I wake up with fasting blood sugars in the high 70s or mid 80s, which is perfect. And I don't have to worry about what I'm eating. I can eat as much as I want. Before, I was like starving myself because I was worried about waking up with high blood sugars. It's not worth it. If your body, as you get older, is not producing enough insulin, you just take a little extra insulin. I mean, it's that simple. It's not a fast-acting insulin, so you're not going to get low blood sugars where you're going to have to worry, oh my God, how many grams of carbs am I eating with this shot? It's a once-a-day type thing. It's like hormone replacement. And I think more and more people, as it becomes more acceptable, are going to start taking these long-acting insulins and for hormone replacement purposes and for blood sugar control, because people are going to realize that high blood sugars do lead to dementia and do lead to vision loss and other things. So it's something to consider. My advice is go to Walmart, buy a $9 blood sugar monitor, start taking your fasting blood sugars first thing in the morning and see where you're at. If you're over 90 consistently, you might want to investigate and do something about
it. We'll take one, maybe two more. We have a lot of really good questions, so we'll probably have to package some of them, send them to Dave, and we'll make some individual videos out of them. The UPS Viking, I was originally taking 200 mg test for HRT before ever lifting a weight for 3 to 4 years. So after a cycle, if I understand Dave correctly, I should not go back to my 200 mg of test. If I don't go back to my HRT dose, what protocol do I follow?
What did he say he's taking when he does his cycle? I didn't hear that part.
So he was originally taking 200 mg before ever having lifted. So after he didn't really mention. So after a cycle, I should not go back.
I'm assuming he's going on a steroid cycle with higher dosages, and he wants to know what to do. Now, there's two options. If you're, going to compete, and you really, want to make the best gains possible, I would do a PCT of HCG and Clomid for 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks do nothing. And then you can restart either a cycle or HRT. If you don't really care about competing and that's not a priority to you, you can go right from your cycle to your TRT dose and just stay on that if you really want to. It's entirely up to you. But for guys that compete who say to me, hey, Dave, I'm on a cycle for 8 months out of the year. What should I do after I'm done with the cycle? I tell them to do 4 weeks, HCG, PCT, 4 weeks off at least, and then go back on cycle again. So it really, it depends on where you're at, how old you are, and what your goals are.
I'll squeeze in one more from Bilal Hamide. When you're backstage for your 10, is it fine to sit on the floor or lean on the wall after getting 10? If not, how would you rest yourself till you got called up?
It's a good question. I was the ultimate. When I competed, we had to paint our own tan on. I would stand around in the hotel room. I'd have the air conditioning on 60. I'd have fans blowing in the room, and I would be so paranoid about sitting down and messing up my tan. But at some point, when it's kind of dry, it's you just put on some loose fitting clothing. Put your posing suit on or whatever, and put on a loose pair of sweatpants and just sit down. I mean, that's the best you can do. But make sure it's dry. Let it dry for a good hour first before you sit down on this stuff. Otherwise, you will lose some color. See, the problem with the spray tanning nowadays is that no one has a base tan under there. So they go down there, they're white, then they get sprayed, they're dark, and now they have to be worried that if that darkness rubs off, they're going to be white underneath because they don't have a base. They have nothing underneath. So it's a little more tricky. Like I said, try not to sweat. Try to find a place that's cool. You can relax. Try to wear some very loose fitting pants, and you should be fine. I don't think, as long as it's dry, it's not going to rub off unless you're actually physically rubbing against something. You know what I mean? But if you're in loose pants and just like chilling out, I used to wear shorts. But I know a lot of people want to be covered up, but I didn't want to sweat because I knew sweating would ruin my tan. So I would always wear like just a tank top and shorts backstage, and I just didn't worry. What am I covering up at that point? I'm going to be on stage with these guys pretty soon. So that was me because I was a sweater. But if you don't sweat and you want to put on sweatpants and hang out back there, that's fine as well. Just get something loose fitting.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel below, hit the notification bell. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button, comment below. We have all new episodes of yesterday's live after hours. Of course, Sunday night's episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, and then some more clips from our Alabama weekend a couple of weeks ago on the channel right now. The aforementioned restaurant scene with Greg Valentino. Actually, there was another restaurant scene with Greg Valentino that we put up as well, where Greg took about 35 minutes to order a burger with no buns. But all good, all hilarious. Check it out right now on the channel. And then, of course, we have some more questions left over from this show. We'll send over to Dave, so we'll make some individual videos out of them. Dave, are you going to be recording with Lee and John Romano later in the week?
I believe on Friday, yes. I think we'll probably put together a show and put it out there for sure.
And then, of course, this weekend's Portugal Pro. So, again, a lot of excitement now as you get into the thick of the contest schedule. A lot of Olympia tickets are going to be handed out in all divisions, of course. But, again, if you're a fan of the open class, this is where things start to get really interesting. This is where that list of qualified Olympia athletes start to get filled up. And, of course, we're going to have preview content, live show content, and of course the breakdowns day off or later on in the weekend on Heavy Muscle Radio. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.